What's up, NBA fan? What's up, all sports fans? This your boy JB, hosted the Behind the Bench podcast network and channel. Giving a shout out to the rest of the crew: Shad, Kelvin, Jermaine, KB Film Room, Big Dog Talk Sports. That's right. That's right. Everyone who's tuning in, thank you for supporting Behind the Bench. Subscribe to the channel. Help make this show the best that it can be. Now, let's talk about last night's festivities, or you can say the lack thereof. And I'm not the one to try to be negative, man. I'm not trying to be negative or nothing like that. But, you know, there's been a lot of flack, a lot of criticism directed towards the NBA All-Star game and the All-Star events in general. I do like the Rising Stars challenge. I like that game, you know, that they feature on Friday nights when the All-Star weekend begins. I like that whole concept, and you know, it gives opportunity for fans to be introduced to the younger players of the league. I like that. I like that. You know, at one time they used to have the Legends game, you know, that was featured during the '80s All-Star game weekend, and it was a great concept. You know, you got to see those legendary players in uniform that you didn't get to see when they was actually playing. So it was great. It was great to you know, be able to witness that. But as they got older, it was hard for them to maintain that event. So they just kind of, you know, put an end to it. And that's what it's all about, man. It's all about, you know, when it comes to situations, when it comes to an event such as the All-Star game or All-Star weekend, you know, you have to have a good feel as to what's going to work and what's not, or what's, like, you know, what's really driving the engine, what's really generating the excitement. And then at some point, certain things begin to run its course. And I think that's what's going on, particularly when it comes to the I'm not going to talk about the All-Star game. I'm going to leave that be. I'm going to leave that be. But the NBA Slam Dunk Contest, where we saw Matt McClung win the event for the third straight year. The first time a contestant has won that event 3 straight years in a row. And the thing about it is, man, you know, the number one reason why, you know, I think they really should put an end to it, or just shut the slam dunk contest down for a couple of years. Because quiet as it's kept, they did that before. The original dunk contest was presented by the ABA and then adopted by the NBA. The first 2 dunk contests took place in the ABA, which the inaugural dunk contest featured Dr. J. Julius Erving and David Thompson. And we all know Dr. J won that event. Then it was brought back by the NBA some 7 years later in 1984, when Dr. J participated in that contest and went up against Larry Nance Sr., and Larry Nance Sr. won. You know, 6'11", about 240, 250 pounds, and he was a tremendous dunker, and he won that event, and then it just carried on from that point on. And of course, what made the event stellar, why they always had that event as the last of all the events, you know, prior to the actual All-Star game, is because the superstars, the stars, the best wing players in the game, because most of your best dunkers are 2 guards and small forwards, for the most part. So from you know, Michael Jordan to Dominique Wilkins, Clyde Drexler, Kobe Bryant, Vince Carter, Jay Rich, Jason Richardson, and I'm just throwing names out there, you know. J.R. Ryder, Harold Miner, Kenny Skywalker. You know, most of your best dunkers in the league, in terms of, you know, wanting to see them perform at that event, or either two guards or small forwards. But they were stars. They were superstars. They were best in the game. And so, you know, when you see now there were some exceptions to the rule. You know, like your Spud Webbs when he beat Dominique Wilkins in the 1986 slam dunk contest. That was the most improbable dunk contest I've seen in my lifetime, because you know many people considered Dominique the best in-game dunker in the league. You know, especially when it comes to windmills and power dunks and dunking in traffic or whatnot. But Spud Webb beat him on that day. And then, of course, the most anticipated showdown ever in slam dunk history was Dominique Wilkins versus Michael Jordan in Chicago, 1988. The build up to that event, I mean, that was 2 months in the making. People were anticipating that. And then, okay, you had Aaron Gordon versus Zach LaVine. That turned out to be great in the end. You know what I'm saying? But I think the problem is the event should be for actual NBA players. And then when you start lowering the bar and then allow G League players to participate, even if they're great dunkers, it's like you're sliding the event and you're lowering the bar. To me, that's what happened, because it's almost like you're rewarding a player to participate in that event and they're not NBA level. So they could be a tremendous dunker, but they can't play at that level. You see what I'm saying? I mean, you know, the way basketball is now, I mean, you see guys out here all the time, man, from the And One event. You know, you had shows that they used to feature like on ESPN or whatnot that was exclusively showcasing some of the greatest dunkers, you know, like from the inner city or whatnot, high school dunkers. I mean, everybody pretty much dunk now if they practice it, you know. So it should be exclusively for NBA players, because the All-Star weekend and the game is about featuring the best players in the world. You know what I'm saying? I just think that takes away from it. So I think what happens is it produces a counter effect where you know, some of the best dunkers in the league, who are known for putting on great dunks, they choose not to participate, you know. And I think at the end of the day, when it gets to this point, man, where you have to lower the bar, they should shut the contest down. And I know a lot of younger fans, man, you know, they may not like that idea, because they want to try to recreate, because they hear so many stories about great dunk contests from the past. But like I said, the original dunk contest started in the ABA the first 2 years, and then it was adopted 7 years later by the NBA. So for 7 years, the NBA didn't even have a dunk contest, you know, after the ABA dunk contest took place. And the NBA, hey, everything was good. Wasn't no problem. You know what I'm saying? They still had the All-Star game, and I'm sure they had the Legends game, but this is before they kind of, you know, they started the dunk contest, and then they brought in the three-point shooting contest. And even that is losing some of its luster, man. Even the three-point contest is losing its luster. And I went back and looked at some footage of previous three-point contests, and they had one year where they would have one contestant shooting threes at one end of the court, and then another contestant shooting threes at the other end of the court. I think that's a great concept, because it's like it ups the ante to where you just can't focus on you. You have to, like, man, this dude hitting his threes, I gotta hit my threes. So it ups the ante. So maybe they, you know, and I'm not one to try to, you know, recommend changes and all that, man, because I'm not in the NBA. I'm just a fan. I'm just saying there is a formula that was agreed upon when they started staging these events, and it seemed like it was more authentic, and it just seemed like it was held in greater esteem. And if something is run its course, see, the thing about it is, let's say if they say we're gonna shut the dunk contest, first of all, it used to be 8 contestants. Now they can only get 4 people to participate. So that takes away from a lot of the excitement too, because you have a quarterfinal round, then a semifinal round, and then you have the finals. So it was more build up. But now it's only for the past 4 or 5 years they've been only able to attract 4 contestants per contest. But think about it. If they shut the slam dunk is all the dunk is always going to be an exciting play in game action. Because there's a lot of times, man, where someone rise up and you don't know they're going to dunk until they dunk. And you be like, oh my God. You know, like when Scottie Pippen caught Patrick Ewing back in the day in the 94 playoffs. Did nobody, man, I didn't know Scottie Pippen was going to rise up on Ewing like that. But when he did, man, I lost it. You know what I'm saying? Because me personally, I didn't know Scottie Pippen had that in him to do that to that degree in that situation. So the dunk will always be an exciting play in game action. But in terms of coming up with new dunks and all this, man, when you got to start relying on props, and it didn't just start recently, this has been going back. I remember one guy, man, you know, he tried to do a cartwheel before a dunk. And when he did that, man, he tried to do an actual cartwheel. He rolled into a cartwheel. He went into a cartwheel motion and he lost his balance and he tried to go for the dunk. He missed the dunk. I said, oh, man, I don't know. It can get kind of, I don't know, man. We can start having some issues with this contest, man. And then you start, I think they had one where, you know, someone a drone flew in and lowered the basketball down or whatnot. And they tried to do a dunk that way. And then, you know, jumping over cars, man. I mean, yeah, it's like what was magical. All I can say is this. What stood out about the dunk contest then, when they did their dunks, man, it was dunks that they was doing in the actual game. You know what I'm saying? Like, technically, Michael Jordan, there were times, man, where he was close to jumping from the free throw line to dunk. You see what I'm saying? Where you could vision in your mind him pulling something like that off. Dominique with his windmill dunks, his two-hand windmill dunks, off, you know, off 2 feet off the dribble. Those are realistic dunks that you can do at games, or what Clyde did, or even Spud to a degree, outside of, you know, throwing the ball up in the air and bouncing off the court, and you jump up and get it, and you do it like a reverse spin, something like that. Other than that, the dunks he was doing were actually in-game dunks. So what Vince Carter did, Vince Carter was doing 360s in the games. You see what I'm saying? So when you start, you know, prop dunking, you know. Now, there's some occasions, man, like when Dwight Howard did a Superman dunk, I ain't gonna lie, man, it was more funny than anything the way he set that up, because you didn't know he was gonna do that, but you knew he was, you know, he saw himself as Superman, you know, the Man of Steel, like Shaquille O'Neal, and he kind of, you know, as Shaq got older, then Dwight Howard was, you know, the top center in the world, so he kind of adopted that identity. So when he did that, man, put that cape on, man, that was for a contest. It was a great moment, but it still wasn't considered like a prop per se. It was just to identify himself as the Man of Steel. So what I'm trying to say is, man, when it runs its course, when you hear more people being critical of it, you know, saying, you know, this and that, or what they need to do, or, you know, there's been contests, man, where, like last night, the young man from Chicago Bulls, you know, he couldn't make a dunk. He missed like 10 attempts, man. It's like, at some point, man, you just have to say, to yourself, what is the All-Star weekend about? What is the All-Star game about? It's about recognizing the top 24 players in the world. And I think if they go back to that premise, they will come up with better concepts and better decisions. What I mean by that is, if you took away the dunk contest and the three-point shooting contest, well, a lot of times in the All-Star game, they do a lot of those open court dunks. Like Tracy McGrady was the first player I can remember who was in the All-Star game and threw the ball off the backboard and dunked it in traffic. So you still going to see slam dunk type moves in All-Star game because of exhibition. And then normally, you know, during the second half of those games, then the defense will tighten up, and in the fourth quarter, it's like, you know, we're going to go for it. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying, I just think it's a lot of discombobulation. that's going on. Sometimes things run their course, man. And then even the skills challenge, you're seeing guys, you know, kind of, you know, just throwing the ball towards the rim, not even trying to make the shot. And at some point, man, they have to pull back and say, yes, you want to appeal to fans. But ultimately, I think the means of which they try to promote the All-Star game, it used to be, it was a mystique. They didn't change anything. It was as it was. And that's what drew the fans. Now they're trying to make these changes to appeal to newfound fans. And then the fans who grew up when it came across as more authentic and genuine, this is where the problems lie. And everybody making these recommendations, like I said, I'm not here to make no recommendations other than the fact that if you see that it gets to the point where you have to feature a G League player to represent the contest, he should be good enough and required to play in the NBA to participate at that level. That's just me. You can have all these tremendous slam dunkers out here, man. And I'm pretty sure cats didn't see. I didn't see a lot of cats out, you know, on the open court doing crazy dunks, but they not NBA players. You see, so it's almost like the NBA is lowering the bar to continue staging this event rather than upholding the standard. Like, let's say, I'm just being hypothetical. I'm not suggesting any change. Let's say if they announce that you can't use props no more. Now I'm not even saying that props weren't used back then, because I do remember Gerald Wilkins, Dominique Wilkins' brother. He was the first person who brought out a chair with someone sitting down, and he jumped over the guy and dunked it. You know, but the way it came across was that you could tell that he had enough hops to where he wouldn't have to, if he didn't do that, he'll still be considered one of the better dunkers in the league. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's say if they announce that we can't use no more props, no more chairs, no more, you know, having the guy hold the ball while you jumping up in the air or jumping over cars or stuff like that. And you just had to go out there and dunk like a professional basketball player in the game, then that's when you're going to see who the true, like the greatest dunkers or and the greatest players. That's what I'm trying to say. That's why the superstars, and I think what has happened is over time, because things are beginning to run this course, when it was at its apex, the participants, whether it was a superstar or not, or a young player coming up, like let's say like a D Brown. D Brown was a great young dunker in the league when he entered the NBA. You know what I'm saying? The less authenticity or the less participation by the superstars, then the future participants had to rely on props. That's what I'm trying to say. And I just think in a lot of ways, man, I think it's reaching the point where they're going to have to shut the event down for some years, man. And it's not going to hurt anything, because like I say, you're going to always see a great dunk in the game, whether it's pro, college, or you watch G League, high school. You're going to always see someone unleash a great dunk that you're going to remember for some time, you know. And like I said, when Kobe Bryant won the dunk contest in 1997, the next year they replaced it with a WNBA NBA like 2-team shootout. You know, they may have, like, let's say, you know, they may have an NBA player and a WNBA player representing the city of Atlanta. They would go up against an NBA player and a WNBA player, let's say from LA or Chicago. And then in 1999, they didn't have it at all because of the lockout. So they went without the dunk contest for 2 years, and then they revived it, brought it back in 2000 with Vince Carter. You see what I'm saying? So if it's run its course, I think it'd be a great idea. Just shut it down, man. Just shut it down for a couple years, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think really, like I say, I think in a lot of ways, just like when they start tinkering with the NFL Pro Bowl, they start tinkering with it, man. And before you know it, man, you don't really see nobody talking about they watching the NFL Pro Bowl no more. Because it used to be they used to schedule the Pro Bowl a week after the Super Bowl in the Aloha Stadium in Hawaii, in Honolulu. And I love the concept, and then they start tinkering with it. They start making these changes, and basically they turned it into like a skills competition. They don't really they flag football, you know, kind of like they don't tackle. You know what I'm saying? And that's supposed to be the essence of football. You know what I'm saying? And they'll say, well, players are concerned about getting hurt, but you can play football during the regular season and get hurt. You see what I'm saying? And the Pro Bowl is no more. The Major League Baseball All-Star Game, the main event is the home run derby. And I think, you know, you hear complaints about that sometimes. I just think at the end of the day, they got to get back to what this event is supposed to be about, representing the 24 best players in the world. And I think in a lot of ways, the event has lost its way, trying to come up with these ideas and gimmicks to maintain interest. But sometimes, man, things just run its course, dog. You know, and if it gets to the point, man, where if the player's not gonna represent during the All-Star game, then maybe they need to shut that down. Because I just did some research. The All-Star game started in the 1950s. You see what I'm saying? The whole concept started in the 50s, then throughout the 60s, and then by that point it became a fixture of NBA basketball, where you couldn't wait to tune in. Like, man, we finna see the 24 best players in the world, the best in the East, the best in the West. Let's go at it. You see what I'm saying? And they didn't have a slam dunk contest back then. They didn't have 3-point shoot contest back then. And I get it, man. You know, when they brought the 3-point contest on board, it was great. It was awesome. But even that's losing some of its luster now, man. So I just think in a lot of ways, the signs are there that at some point, I think they're just gonna have to you know, shut down, particularly the dunk contest, even the skills challenge, man. It just, you know, they had a windmill spinning around, doing like, I guess like the obstacle course or something, man. And it's just, this is pro ball, man. This is professional basketball. We already know these the best players in the world. Now, like I said, man, and it's hard to pull back. And I get it's hard to pull back, man. I get that, man. I really do. I really do, man. But like I said, man, I'm not gonna speak negative of the dunk contest last night, man. But what I will say is, I just always believe that to participate in any all-star event, a contest, you should be an NBA player. I don't think you should be no G League player. Because okay, you're a level below NBA caliber. You see what I'm saying? So like I said, Mac McClung, man, he can dunk, no doubt about it. But like I said, if they said no more props, you just gotta go out there, man, just whatever comes to mind, instinct, go up there and do it. Maybe that's when someone will come up with the next great dunk. Like Dominique Wilkins, he always said when he went up against Jordan, they didn't practice no dunks, man. They went off of instinct. Next thing you know, he was doing dunks, man, that we ain't seen. Vince Carter, that was all instinct. That's what made it exciting. But I just want to throw it out there real quick, man. Like I said, I ain't trying to be negative or nothing like that. But I just think in a lot of ways, man, the bar is being lowered too much. This is pro basketball, just like NFL. Well, you're not gonna have a Canadian football player participate in Pro Bowl activities because it's not a knock. It's just that's a level below, 2 levels below the NFL. You see what I'm getting at? So. Or like having a AAA baseball player compete in the home run derby. I just think you're lowering the bar because everybody want to, you know, pretend like or have a feeling like, man, I'm right there with these guys. But in essence, the NBA players are the best player in the world. So why would you lower the bar? You see what I'm saying? Because people tuning away anyway. and if this new concept don't, whatever concept they for the All-Star game, four teams competing in 3 games to decide who's gonna be the winner, man. I mean, what are we doing, dog? So I think it's gonna get to the point where either they're gonna have to go back to basics, or they're gonna wind up putting an end to the whole thing and just, announcing like who made NBA All-Pro or NBA All-First Team, or who would have been selected as an All-Star. That's probably where, if they don't kind of revert back to basics, I see that being the case. You see what I'm saying? And also the All-Star break, I think it's too long. It used to be, you would play that last game right before All-Star weekend on Thursday, and then the season will resume on Tuesday. Now, the season don't resume until Thursday. I think that's another problem too. You see what I'm saying? But I just think it's too much capitulation. I think it's too much capitulation. And the people who came up with the idea of the All-Star game in decades past, they knew what they were doing, man. Because they continued to raise it, they established the standard. They're like, okay, this is the 24 best players in the world. That means, man, the league was being elevated on a year-to-year basis. It just got better and better and better and better and better. And like I say, you ain't got to be the greatest ever, man, to be remembered. It's all about competition, and I think that too is the missing ingredient in a lot of ways. Competition, man. And I think once the superstar mentality begins to restore itself, then I think you'll see more stars participating in the dunk contest. I think you'll see more competition throughout the All-Star game. So to me, it's real simple. It's real simple, But I just want to drop that real quick. And until next time, this is JB for BTB Behind the Bench.